So in today's video, we're looking at every single main event coming up in the UFC. We're going to look at the pros, we're going to look at the cons, and we're going to assess where we are. And to be honest, it's pretty darn good. Now, I have to say, Lucas Tracy and Bedtime MMA both made videos like this, and it was definitely where I got the idea. I don't even need to say check them out, because you definitely know who they fucking are. But they did make me realize there's a lot to look forward to in the UFC. And finally, some positivity. So I hope you enjoyed this video, boys. The road to 5k has begun, so hit that subscribe button. The channel is popping at the moment. I can't thank you enough, but let's get fucking into this. So having watched Lucas Tracy and Bedtime MMA making a video on the upcoming main events of the UFC, I thought I'd make my own little video simply because I actually enjoyed their videos so much. I wanted to talk about the upcoming main events because we have so much shit to look forward to in the UFC. Obviously, UFC 328 is the big one. Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland is the one we're all looking forward to. I'll move myself up here just for the meantime. Obviously, this is the one we're all looking forward to. This is the big one. This is the biggest fight that the UFC has put on this year. It's going to be an absolute incredible scrap. The spectacle beforehand is the thing we're all looking forward to, if we're being completely honest with you. It's got an insane co-main event as well, which was badly needed. We have this absolute cracker at featherweight. We have so much good shit, and I haven't even talked about this fight night in a minute, how good of a card this is. The UFC is looking good. The UFC is looking good. And listen, they said it in their videos. We are the first. Not we, because I'm not one of the big YouTubers, but we as MMA fans are the first to ridicule the UFC, say how shit it is, say how bad that slop of shit that the AI was that they put out to us as fans was. We are the first ones to say how bad all of this shit is, but we need to give them credit where credit is due. We need to say this is how it should be. This is exactly how the UFC have played it. Whether it's good or bad, it's easy to trash UFC the whole time, especially with the way the sport is at the moment. But we need to shed some light. We need to shed some positivity. I'm going to start with this card. So Carlos Prates versus Jack Della Maddalena. As we can see here straight off the bat, so we have the main event, which is JDM versus Carlos Prates. A striker's delight, one of the best main events you could possibly make in the sport at the moment as regards a fight net that is going to lead to a #1 contender in Carlos Prates when he beats Jack Della Maddalena. So as regards the main event in Australia, we can have literal zero complaints about this. Absolutely nothing. As we can see in the co-main event as well, Quillan Salkid versus Beneil Dariush. This is the perfect way to get rid of Beneil Dariush and the perfect way to launch Quillan Salkid into the rankings, into these big matchups, into some of these bigger names. And if we just keep going down the rankings here, obviously the few fighters are going to be covered here. But if we keep going down here, Tai Tuivasa is on this card. Tai Tuivasa, and if we keep going, Junior Chaffer or whatever, but Steve Erceg versus Tim Elliott is on this card. Now, I don't know if this is opening up the whole card. Gerald Meerschaert's on this card as well, the GOAT. I don't know if this is them opening up the card, but this is how you stack a fight night in your home country, I should say. I don't know why the fuck I said state. Country of Australia. You put the biggest names on there without putting in a massive name like Volk. Obviously, you couldn't put a fight night for a title. He just fought in Australia not too long ago. And if you compare this to the lump of shit we got for the UK fans, which I was actually at, even though I'm not from England, I'm from Ireland, it shows a massive difference. We didn't have, as much as, Murphy versus Movzar was a good main event, and it was, there was a lot on the line, about undefeated and things like that. We never got a JDM versus Carlos Prates. The co-main event was Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell. Quillan Salkid versus Beneil Dariush. Shamil Gaziev, the greatest heavyweight of all time, is on this card as well. Tai Tuivasa. Steve Erceg. You could honestly put this as a pay-per-view if you just had one more fight as a title. If you put Volkanovski on this would be a good pay-per-view for Australia with the main and co-main event, and JDM would be co-main event. Fighting JDM versus Carlos Prates, and then Quillan Salkid. Fucking hell. So as regards main and co-main, you could not ask much more if you're an Australian fan, especially if you're going to a sick main event, sick co-main event. Steve Erceg on the card versus Tim Elliott. It has name value. It has exactly what you need. Now if we move on to Chimaev versus Strickland, I genuinely believe this is one of the cards of the year. I really do. And it's sad because this was like an average card in 2022. I know you can't see Strickland there, but still, let's have a little look-see down the card. So Tats Ratura, Joshua Van is an incredible co-main event. Perfect co-main event for the main card that we have. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Alexander Volkov is a scrap. I'm going to be going with Volkov on this one. Although I think Waldo Cortez Acosta can absolutely win, I think this is a sick heavyweight kind of feature fight here. I think this is the perfect feature fight, considering Waldo Cortez Acosta's making so much noise and Volkov's always always claiming the throne of just getting one more win away from a title fight. I think this is a banger, bro. Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley is a massive fight in the welterweight division. This was literally a main event up until Aljamain Sterling versus Zalal Yusuf took its place. Sick fight. I love it. Great style. I think Joaquin Buckley's going to chin him. I think Joaquin Buckley's going to decapitate him. But look at that 4 fight on a trot. This is sick. Brady Buckley, Waldo Cortez Costa, Tatsuo Tura, Sean Strickland. No complaints. Absolutely none. If we keep going, for some reason that's there. I don't know why Jan Blachowicz isn't opening up the main card, but still, Jan Blachowicz is on this card. You know what I mean? And, you know, Yaroslav Maman, not great. Roman Kopylov and stuff like that. Few decent fights, but nothing crazy. All in all, incredible main card. Incredible main card. Then we go to this. Arnold Allen versus Milicia Costa. We all know on this channel, I'm an absolutely massive Arnold Allen fan. Triple A is one of my GOATs. He's one of my most underrated fighters. The card itself isn't exactly great. You know, it's not exactly great. Malcolm Wellmaker in the co-main event kind of tells you everything you need to know. It is disappointing. It is disappointing. You're Shannon Bannon, fellow Irish compadre. You know, Andrei Petrosky versus Cody Brundage is a decent scrap. Few little kind of sleeper fights here and there. But as regards a main event, I think this is just such a special main event. And Bedtime predicted this main event as well, which is sick to see. I think this is one of the best main events you can get outside of like a top 5 number 1 contender fight. I feel like the stylistic approach that both of these are going to have to take. Of course, Arnold's much more fluid in his movement. Milicia Costa is definitely more of a sharp boxer, but Arnold can also throw hands. I believe Arnold's going to win, and I believe that the hooks to the body are going to add up. Milicia Costa is coming off that incredible first round spinning back kick against Dan Ige, so he is in with a lot of confidence, and Triple A is in a weird position, just losing to Gene Silva. You know, he got the win against Giga Chikadze, losing to Holloway, losing to Movzar and things like that. But, you know, Arnold Allen obviously arguably beat Movzar Evloev. I thought he beat Movzar Evloev. He was so close to beating Gene Silva. Great competitive scrap, Max Holloway. Movzar, Holloway, and Gene Silva. You know, Movzar and Gene Silva are both at the top of the division now. Could potentially face each other for a number 1 contender fight. Potentially, but I do think Movzar will end up getting a nod. And I think this is exactly what matchmaking is meant to look like. You're just missing, if we have a little look-see at the card here, you're just missing a good co-main event and a good feature fight. It's poor. It's piss poor. The actual card itself is piss poor. You know, Milicia Costa, Arnold as a main event in itself is absolutely incredible, but there's no juice. There's no meat on the bones with the rest of the card. It's fairly poor. It feels very last minute put together. You know, you have Malcolm Wellmaker as a co-main event. It's just not good. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. And if we have a look here at the main event, I should say, at the weekend, Gilbert Burns versus Mallet, there's no name value on this card. Kyler Phillips versus Charles Jourdain is a good co-main event. I will say that. Mike Mallet versus Gilbert Burns is a decent main event, considering Gilbert Burns hasn't picked up a win since probably Masvidal, I want to say, is Gilbert Burns' last win, and Mike Mallet is the real Canadian guy. Not much talent coming through from Canada. And, you know, Jai Herbert versus Mandel Nalla, decent enough 3 fights there. Considering I'm a Jai Herbert fan, I'm watching Jai Herbert since he was in Cage Warriors, I kind of resonate a little bit more with that. But apart from that, not much going on here. Thiago Moises, you know, Dennis Buzkaji, Aljamain Sterling's partner, training partner, I should say. All in all, it's not a good card at all. It's not a great card at all. But it is one of those kind of ones where they just screw Canadian fans all the time. They really do screw Canadian fans. If we're looking at fight nights, this is exactly how you stack it. This is exactly how you stack it with an incredible main and co-main event, and you have names scattered across the card. You have the Tai Tuivasa, who's on like a 6-fight losing streak. You have the Steve Ercik scattered around here. You have a few sleeper names like Gerald Mershad in there. Or you just go all in on a main event with Arnold. The one I was saying, the Arnold Allen versus Milicia Costa. You go all in on that one, or you just leave it, bro. You don't need to put on a fight every weekend. You know what I mean? There's no need to put on a fight every weekend. And we'll have a look at the Aljamain Sterling scrap here. As much as I think Sterling versus Zalal Yusuf is a good fight, I'll have a look see at the card here. Alexander Hernandez as a co-main event. Davy Grant, Rafa Garcia. These are all pretty mid names. Montel Jackson. as much as I like Montel Jackson, you know, Norma Jamon versus Jolicia Edwards. Norma Jamon, number 3 in the world, is getting passed up by David Grant. We love to see it. But Ryan Spann, decent enough name value, but nothing crazy. No crazy matchups. Nothing for me to get really excited about, apart from the main event. Now, I do understand when you're in the Apex, you are kind of looking at these fights almost like in kind of like a... These are kind of just there to fill the gap of just the main event. But why don't you put like this on the Shemaya versus Strickland card? Why don't you put it on this card and make it even better? Why not replace Aljamain Sterling, Zalal Yusuf with Bobby Green versus Jeremy Stevens and just ditch the card? Why not completely stack out these cards instead of just having decent enough fight night main events with no real name value apart from the main event? Because if you had an Aljo versus Zalal Yusuf opening up the main card for this scrap, that is one of the best fights that you can put on to open up a main card, and everybody will be so happy with the actual main card. It'll feel like the old days. It really will. Now, I have become quite accustomed to top heavy main events in fight nights, okay? But what I've not become accustomed to is top heavy main event pay-per-views. And Holloway versus Oliveira was a prime example of the UFC just lobbying together a shit card and just giving us a good main event. You can get away with that when it's fight nights. You can get away with that. Okay, you can. But even then, it's a push now. Because we as UFC fans are expecting much better cards nowadays with the Paramount era. That's to begin with. And also, the last couple of years, we haven't been getting great cards. So when we get a UFC 328... that's when we really appreciate it. Or 327 was unbelievable. That's when UFC fans really appreciate these kind of matchups. And I can't wait for Shemaya versus Strickland. I can't wait for Allen versus Costa. I can't wait for JDM versus Prades. You just need a bit more depth. Okay, it's not that fucking hard. Scrap 4 or 5 fight nights every year. Put those main events on pay-per-views as main card openers. Brady did the perfect thing with Brady versus Buckley. But you could easily just scrap that fight night, which nobody's asking for. Give us a break for a week. No one really cares. We can make some tier videos. And stack pay-per-views for what they really are, which is your main selling point. This is what the UFC is selling. I don't want top-heavy main event pay-per-views. They were very rare back in the day. They're becoming all too common now. The Holloway versus Oliveira one was a joke considering the main event was shit. Very happy. Quite happy. Extremely happy. The UFC's in a good spot. We must say it is in a good spot. Let me know what you think about all these main cards down below, boys. Am I being harsh? Am I in the middle? Where am I sitting with this? Where are you sitting with this? And thanks for watching.